Good morning, students. Welcome back to the online class. Dear students, today we are going to proceed with the next chapter of political science, chapter number 1, post World War political developments. Dear children, we have learned about the Second World War. In the last session, we have learned about the Second World War and Cold War and various effects of Cold War. Yes. So, dear children, what was the Cold War? As we have seen, it was not exactly war. It means two countries or two nations disputes which may further lead to the cause of war. And those two countries were USA and USSR. So, as we have seen, these two countries wanted to become superpower, and as a result, they were making some certain efforts like production of ammunition and all. But in the end they realized that it would disturb the peace of world. Then they stop. So let's move further with the next topic. Do you know, children, the communist revolution took place in 1917 in Russia and Soviet Union came into being. So during the 1917, the communist revolution took place, and at that time Russia and Soviet Union was formed. In a short while, the Soviet Union came up as a superpower in international politics, but there were extreme differences between America and the Soviet Union. So we will find because of that, as you know, USA was a superpower nation, that is America was a democratic country, and it followed the principle of capitalism. Yes, and it believed in the capitalism, where in the Soviet Union believed in socialism. It followed the principle of socialism. Here we also can see there were the differences of opinion between the two nations, and both of them wanted to spread their own principles all over the world. Like America wanted capitalism to be followed everywhere, wherein Soviet Union were wanted to spread socialism everywhere in the world. So both the superpowers wanted to expand their dominance in the world. In that case, both were very competitive nations. So later we will find both the countries what did they do in order to gain more dominance. They started pulling the smaller countries, smaller nations towards their sides, as if they wanted to maintain good army, good military strength, and so smaller countries into their blocks in order to increase their hegemony. So main reason to increase their dominance all over the world with more nations. In their blocks, accordingly, they force their smaller nations to come their side. As a result, Europe was divided into two parts, that is Eastern Europe and Western Europe. So the Western European countries they joined the bloc of America, which was led by America, whereas Eastern European countries they joined the bloc of Soviet Union, which was led by Soviet Union, that is USSR. Now these superpower nations espoused the policy of extending military and economic help to the countries in their respective blocs. As they were forcing the countries to come under their dominance, of course, it was their own basic responsibilities for the protection of these countries. So it showed the economic support and military help to those countries. In order they would be provided all kind of protections and security who would join their blocks. As we have seen in the previous session, there were some nations who were not ready to join the two power blocks, and as a result,
they followed the policy of non-alignment. So the Asian and African countries which become independent after the Second World War with the support of non-alignment, means they went with the non-alignment, and they believe that they would neither followed capitalism nor socialism, and they would be follow the principle of independence. So this movement started from 1961 under the leadership of Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, President of Yugoslavia Marshal Tito, President of Egypt Gamal Abdel Nasser, President of Indonesia Sukarno, Dr. Sukarno, and President of Ghana Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So these were the leaders and their countries joined the non-alignment movement. So what was the non-alignment movement actually? What did they follow? So first this was that the non-aligned movement, it opposed colonialism, imperialism and racism. So this itself proves that the non-aligned movement gave equal status to all individuals, to all the countries, developed, developing nations and underdeveloping nations. So that is why they oppose the policy of colonialism, imperialism, and racism. So, no country would be discriminate on the basis of color, caste, creed, or any kind of inequality not followed. And the second was it has encouraged the resolution of international disputes by peaceful means, and India led this movement under the guidance of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And also, India continued to actively support the movement afterwards as well. Even after the end of the Cold War, the importance of the movement has not reduced. So next, just we will summarize what we have done so far. The significance of the non-aligned movement has not reduced even if the Cold War is over. It inspired the less developed countries to come together. It brought several new streams of economic and social changes into international politics. It gave these countries the confidence to assert themselves with self respect in international politics. In the next part, end of the Cold War, the Cold War that had dominated international politics since 1945 came to an end. It was an important event that happened towards the end of the last century. There were many reasons for the end of the Cold War, which are given here. The first reason was the Soviet Union adopted the policy of opening up the economy. The state loosened up its control of the economy. And the second reason was then the president of the Soviet Union, that was at that time the president of Soviet Union was Mikhail Gorbachev, implemented the policies of perestroika, that is restructuring, and the glamous, that is openness. Due to these policies, the control over the media reduced. Important changes took place in the political and economic spheres. That is, these spheres were restructured. This gave impulse to democracy. And as the East European countries, under the influence of the Soviet Union, adapted the capitalist and democratic paths, the regimes there changed. The regimes means the rule were changed accordingly. And the Soviet Union disintegrated and several new nations were created out of it. Russia was the biggest country in the Soviet Union. In the next part, what were the changes came into the existence after the Cold War? The Cold War came to an end with the disintegration of the Soviet Union, which till then had been a superpower. As a result, major changes took place in the world politics. For example, America remained the only superpower in the world politics. A conducive atmosphere prevailed for the growth in trade and economic relations between and among nations. Capital, labor, market, and information circulated throughout the world. Ideas spread as well. And as all nations of the world decided to give priority to trade relations, the idea of giving aid to other nations fell behind. Instead, efforts began to be made to establish economic relations. The description of a country which was opposed to another has now changed from enemy nation to rival nation. The responsibility of the United Nations has increased. The United Nations now had to take more concrete steps to maintain global peace and security. Environmental protection, fostering of human rights, gender equality, and management of natural calamities now acquired a global dimension. So now, what is the globalization, children? So far, we have talking about carrying out trade at global level and everything. Now, what is globalization? So we can see after the Cold War, trade and economic relations were growing. Yes, countries started as market or economic was opened for all. We find that the trade and economic relations started growing all over. So, capital, labor, marketing, and information began circulating globally. So, we can see people started investing more at global level. Then also labor was made more available. Marketing was increased for products at global level and also information was started. The idea, the technologies of all the nations were shared accordingly, and so there was a give and take of ideas amongst the people all over the world. So there was a given and take relationship between the people, between the nations all over the world came into the existence. And also we can see there was development in the field of technology. As all the country started working together, there were sharing of inventions and new technology had developed. So the boundaries between the nations reduced and all these processes together is called as a globalization. So, dear children, in short, we can find that globalization is nothing that just sharing ideas, technologies, carrying out market at global level, and distributing the economy equally all over the world. So, that is called as globalization. So, children, just as globalization has brought us benefits, it has also caused losses. For example, as the economies of different countries got linked with each other, trade increased, friendly, means all the things started to share with each other between the two nations, between the two countries. Economic unification grew. Plenty of products also started to become available in the markets, but at the same time, the gap between the poor and rich nations did not reduce. So, dear children, so far we have studied in this chapter or in this session, we have studied the global developments from 1945 onwards. We understood the world in the Cold War period, the arms race and the efforts at disarmament. We also learned about the meaning of globalization. So, in the next chapter, we shall study India's foreign policy. Till now, we have to read the whole lesson very carefully, very properly. And if you're having any doubt, you can go through the Diksha app. Stay home, stay healthy. Thank you.